Donald Trump's tenure as the US president made one thing clear. Xi Jinping fears alpha men. Xi is easily the biggest bully in the world today. However, when a strong leader from his enemy country takes charge and imposes his will upon Xi, he crumbles under pressure. This is exactly what Trump did for 4 years with his tariffs war against China and enhanced activity in the South China Sea. But Trump is no longer in the White House. Xi would have heaved a sigh of relief. But now he has not one but two alpha males to face: India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida. Both of them are giving Xi sleepless nights with their anti-China campaign. Hi and welcome to TFI Global, the foreign affairs and geopolitical analysis arm of the TFI Media Group. I'm your host Shubhangi, and in this video I will tell you why Xi is losing his sleep over anti-China campaigns by two world leaders, Fumio Kishida and Narendra Modi. Let's begin. Chinese hegemony has four main enemies in the world today, that is, the Quad allies: India, Australia, Japan and the United States of America. However, it is India and Japan who are directly engaged with the rogue nation. While India is the only country to have exchanged hostilities and shed blood at the border with China, Japan is the only other powerful Quad country that shares direct hostilities with China near the Senkaku Islands in the East China Sea. As such, the kind of political leaders who lead New Delhi and Tokyo matters to Xi Jinping. He wants India and Japan to get dovish, but the leaders of the two countries are turning out to be China hawks. In fact, India and Japan are looking to uproot Chinese hegemony in association with each other. Fumio Kishida took over as Japan's Prime Minister earlier this month. Japan is now set to go to the polls on October 31st, and if the ruling center-right Liberal Democratic Party, or the LDP, can retain power, then Kishida will continue as the Japanese Prime Minister for several years. Interestingly, Kishida comes from the Kochikai faction, which is traditionally dovish. However, Shinzo Abe, the chief strategist orchestrating Kishida's victory, comes from the Seiwakai faction, which is traditionally hawkish. Abe remains a tall politician in Japan and continues to wield a lot of influence. So, is Kishida a China dove or a China hawk? Well, Kishida's recent policies suggest that he is one of the bigger China hawks in the world today. After coming to power, he has taken a slew of decisions against China. Some of the decisions include emphasizing freedom, democracy, human rights, and rule of law in a veiled reference to China, underscoring the importance of the Quad and the free and open Indo-Pacific cooperation, both of which are supposed to contain China, backing Japan to acquire capability for attacking enemy bases, and bringing Russia closer to isolating China. Kishida is also sending offerings to the Yasukuni shrine that honors 2.5 million Japanese who died since the late 19th century, including convicted military and political souls of the Second World War era when Japan occupied large parts of China. And lastly, forcing Biden to issue a statement in favor of Taiwan. So, while Fumio Kishida is turning out to be a China hawk, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been hawkish from the first day. Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes from a nationalist party, the Bharatiya Janata Party, that came to power in 2014 on the promise of standing up to India's main enemies, China and Pakistan. PM Modi has been working against the China-Pakistan alliance since 2014, and after 2017, he has developed personal hatred for the Chinese Communist Party. Under his leadership, India has given a bloody nose to the CCP and its armed wing, the People's Liberation Army, several times. In 2017, the Indian Army stood up to the PLA during a standoff at the Doklam Tri-Junction at the borders of India, Bhutan and China. The standoff continued for 73 days. Ultimately, the Chinese had to face humiliation and withdraw from the standoff. For the last 1.5 years, India and China have been engaged in a standoff along the de facto Indo-Tibet border in eastern Ladakh. On June 15th last year, Indian Army and the PLA troops clashed in the Galwan Valley, which led to China suffering at least 35 casualties. PM Modi has led the construction of a robust road network along the disputed Indo-Tibet border to push back against China. This has allowed the Indian Army to thwart all Chinese attempts to intrude into India's territory. Meanwhile, India is hurting China on the economic front too. Last year, India banned around 267 China-based apps on the ground of national security. This year, the Modi government has cracked down on the Chinese smartphones industry, which has grabbed a sizable market share in India. With hawkish prime ministers in both India and Japan, she is bound to get some sleepless nights. The two countries have already cooperated on several fronts, including launching a trilateral supply chain resilience initiative, the SCRI, to reduce China's foothold in the global supply chains. Kishida and Modi want to hurt China at any cost by pushing back against it militarily and also by launching a diplomatic offensive that uproots Beijing from supply chains, effectively reducing it into a pariah state at global forums. Modi and Kishida are emerging as two alpha males, making Xi's life very difficult.